You start to speak, and before the sentence is finished, she cuts across you. That's not the point, she says. Or, you don't know what you're talking about. You try again, more carefully this time. You soften your tone, you add caveats, and still your words disappear the moment they leave your mouth. So you stop trying. You rehearse your thoughts in your head, but never say them aloud. You edit your perspective before anyone else gets a chance to. And somewhere along the way, you stop believing that your voice belongs within the conversation at all. That's what happens when your ideas are dismissed, when your opinions are treated as inconvenient, irrelevant, or even dangerous. It doesn't happen through shouting, it happens through silence, through rolled eyes and sighs, through the slow and quiet burial of everything you think. This episode is about one of the most invisible forms of emotional abuse, which is the dismissal of your thoughts and opinions. We'll define exactly what this tactic is and why abusers use it. Then we'll walk through four distinct ways it shows up within an abusive relationship. That's topic override, where your voice is simply erased from the conversation; credential discounting, where your expertise and knowledge are undermined; identity based dismissal, where who you are becomes the reason your ideas don't count; and moral invalidity, where your perspective is framed as harmful or dangerous just for existing. We'll then cover practical tools for protecting yourself inside this dynamic. For those of you who are new here, this is Stand Again, a lived experience platform for male victims of family violence. Abuse is not limited to one gender, but this channel focuses on the male perspective because it is so often dismissed or misunderstood. If this content helps you, please like, subscribe, and add the words Stand Again into the chat. Those two words might just help a victim of family violence find theirs. So, what exactly is the dismissal of your ideas and opinions within an abusive dynamic? Well, it's a form of emotional manipulation that undermines your credibility, invalidates your knowledge, and erodes your sense of self. It does not happen through overt cruelty, it happens through subtle rejection, like eye rolls, abrupt topic changes, sarcastic asides, a flat, you don't know what you're talking about. You learn to anticipate that your ideas will be shut down before they are even voiced. The tactic does not only target emotionally charged topics, it often shows up in areas where you hold legitimate expertise, like your career or your passions or your observations about the dynamics within the relationship itself. You offer a considered view, and it's met with condescension or silence. You try to engage, and the floor is pulled out from under you before the conversation even begins. You stop contributing, and it's not because you lack insight, it's because you've been taught your insight is not welcome. Why do abusers use this tactic? It's simple because it gives them control without conflict. They do not have to argue with you if they can train you to stop sharing your thoughts altogether. They do not have to justify their decisions if your voice has already been removed from the equation. Dismissal creates a hierarchy. One person's perspective matters, the other's does not. And once that dynamic is established, it becomes the foundation of the relationship. You become a passenger in your own life. The tactic also generates plausible deniability. If they never shouted, never threatened, never explicitly told you to shut up, then how could it be abuse? They can claim they were just busy, just distracted, just disagreed. But the pattern tells a different story. When every conversation ends with your thoughts being overridden, when your expertise is mocked, when your identity is used to disqualify your perspective, that is control. And it's deliberate. The deeper danger of this tactic is that it fractures your own internal compass. You begin to second guess your perspective and your right to even have one. You learn to stay quiet. And when decisions are made without you or narratives are shaped around you, your silence is taken as agreement. But it's not agreement, it's learned futility, a slow unraveling of your voice in the very areas where you once felt grounded. Let's now take a look at four distinct ways this tactic operates. Each one targets your voice differently, and each one leaves its own kind of damage. The first type is topic override. Topic override is the most direct form of dismissal. Your contributions to a conversation are ignored, redirected, or overshadowed by your partner's preferred narrative. This is not about disagreement or even healthy debate. It's purely about control. Your thoughts are erased in real time. Your input is made to feel unwelcome, irrelevant, or disruptive to the emotional status quo she is trying to maintain. This can happen subtly or overtly. You might start to explain your perspective, and before you finish the first sentence, you've been interrupted. You might raise a concern, and the conversation instantly pivots back to her feelings, her point of view, her agenda. The underlying message is clear. Your ideas don't carry enough weight for the conversation. Your voice is not equal here. What makes topic override so effective is how it creates a chilling effect. You begin to anticipate the dismissal before you even speak. You may even rehearse what you want to say, only to then abandon it. You question whether your ideas are even valid at all. And in moments where you do assert yourself, the reaction is so forceful that you're left wondering why you bothered. Eye rolls, accusations, abrupt shutdowns, the cost of speaking feels too high. It might sound like something like this: yeah, but let me finish what I was saying. Or, this isn't about you. I'm the one who's hurt right now. Or even, that's not even the point. You're missing the real issue. Sometimes it can even be sarcasm. Ah, here we go again. Mr. Logical has an opinion again. For men conditioned to stay calm, rational, and solutions focused, topic override is particularly disorientating. The very approach you were taught to value, the attempt to constructive dialogue, becomes a thing that gets shut down. Your emotions are dismissed, your thoughts, reasoning, and perspectives are too. And that erasure does not just silence you in the moment, it trains you to stay silent long after that. Type 2 is credential discounting. Credential discounting is a manipulation tactic that attacks your competence directly. It dismisses your ideas by questioning your right to have them at all. It sounds like, what would you know about that? Or, you always think you know better. The focus is not on what you've said, it's on whether you're qualified to say it at all. This tactic targets your knowledge, your experience, and your sense of legitimacy. It can show up even when you're discussing something you genuinely know well, like career expertise, parenting approaches, financial decisions, topics you have studied, lived through, or spent years thinking about. And the moment you speak with any confidence, it gets shut down. You're not a psychologist, she might say, or stop pretending like you're some expert. The mechanics of this tactic are insidious. It doesn't matter how carefully you frame your thoughts. It doesn't matter how much evidence you bring. Your ideas are preemptively discredited because of who is delivering them. It's not an invitation to explore different views. It's a tactic to shut yours down completely. What makes credential discounting so corrosive is how directly it strikes at self respect. It turns knowledge into a liability. Instead of being valued for your thoughtfulness, your lived insight, you're painted as arrogant, controlling, or out of depth. And if you push back calmly, clearly, or with evidence, that gets twisted too. Now you're mansplaining, now you're lecturing, now you're trying to dominate the conversation. The accusation is gendered in a way that makes defense nearly impossible. Speaking with confidence becomes proof of the very arrogance you're being accused of. The trap is airtight. If you speak with confidence, you're arrogant. If you stay silent, you're disengaged. There's no way to win. And that is the point. The tactic is not designed to resolve disagreement, it's designed to make you feel like your voice does not belong in the conversation. Type 3 is identity based dismissal. Identity based dismissal invalidates your ideas by undermining who you are. Rather than engage with the content of what you're saying, the abuser shifts focus to your background, your heritage, your appearance, or even your gender. The message is clear: your opinions do not count because of who you are. This tactic layers subtle prejudice with emotional control. It doesn't need overt slurs or visible discrimination to be effective. It often shows up as sarcastic remarks, veiled comments, or feigned confusion about why you see things that way. It questions your insight on the assumption that your identity makes your perspective inherently flawed, naive, or biased. It might sound like this: is this because of your background? Or you're just saying that because you grew up with money. You would not understand. Or that's such a man thing to say. No wonder you don't get it. Sometimes it's delivered with false innocence. I get it. You see things differently. That explains it. This is not an intellectual debate. It's emotional manipulation disguised as doubt. When someone you love repeatedly attaches your ideas to your race, your culture, your upbringing, your gender, especially parts of yourself you've had to fight to accept, it chips away at your confidence. And it sends a clear message: your voice is less valid here. The damage here compounds because you start second guessing everything, wondering if maybe you really do see things wrong, if maybe your thoughts are colored by something that makes them less valid. You catch yourself hesitating, not because you don't believe in what you're saying, but because you know the response will come for you, not for your idea. And eventually you stop bringing things up altogether. Again, not because you don't care, but because you don't want to be reduced to a punchline within your own life. Type 4 is one that used to personally cut me quite deep, which is moral invalidity. Moral invalidity is a form of emotional manipulation where your ideas or opinions are framed as harmful, unethical, or toxic simply because they challenge your partner's behavior, worldview, or even their comfort. Rather than debating the substance of what you've said, the focus shifts to your character. That's an abusive thing to say. You're the reason people feel unsafe. Or how could you even think that? This tactic doesn't distort your memory or perception like gaslighting. It doesn't try to convince you that an event didn't happen. Instead, it tries to convince you that speaking about it makes you a bad person. It's a denial of moral legitimacy. And the goal is to silence your perspective by making you feel guilty, dangerous, or even fundamentally wrong for just expressing your thoughts. It might sound a little bit like this: that's a really toxic thing to say. Or, wow, I can't believe you actually think that. That's really disturbing. Sometimes it comes wrapped up in concern. I'm worried about you. That kind of thinking is not healthy. Or sometimes it's accusatory. You sound like an abuser right now. The key here is that all of those statements are not grounded in truth. They're not grounded in the things that you said. They're actually twists and diversions of what you're talking about. This tactic exploits the cultural assumption that men's perspectives on relationships, parenting, or gender could even be suspect by default. In these spaces, men are often told implicitly or explicitly that their viewpoint is not just unwelcome, it is dangerous. That they should listen, not speak, reflect, not share. And even when a man does speak from direct experience, the reaction is not curiosity, it's suspicion. The accusation, you sound like an abuser, carries particular weight for men because it activates a fear that already exists in the cultural background. That male emotion is inherently threatening. That speaking up about your boundaries, about your needs, confirms it. The impact runs deep. When your words are routinely framed as morally unacceptable, especially in conversations about fairness, about parenting, or your emotional needs, it becomes harder to know when it is okay to speak up at all. You start self centering. And once your moral character becomes a target, even calm, reasonable feedback can be recast as cruelty. Eventually, you stop sharing your opinions, especially on anything emotional. You stay silent. Again, not because you agree, but because you know the cost of speaking. It is not peace, it is self erasure. If you're living with this kind of dismissal, you already know how exhausting it is to fight for a voice that keeps getting taken away. The tools I'm about to go through are not about fixing the relationship or changing your partner. They're about protecting what's left of your sense of self while you figure out what comes next. The first tool is internal validation. When your ideas are constantly dismissed, the temptation is to seek validation from the person dismissing you. That never works. Instead, start documenting your thoughts privately. Write down what you think, capture your observations about the relationship, record the things you would say if you felt safe to say them. This is not for anybody else, it's for you. It rebuilds your relationship with your own perspective. It reminds you that your thoughts exist and they matter, even if no one in your home is willing to hear them. The second tool is strategic disengagement. When you feel a dismissal coming, you don't have to stay within the conversation. You can say, I don't think this is a good time to talk about this. Or, I can see we're not going to agree. I'm going to step away. This is a form of protection, not avoidance. You're not conceding the argument, you're just refusing to participate in a dynamic designed to erase you. The goal here is not to win, it's to stop losing pieces of yourself in conversations that were never meant to include you. The third tool is external anchoring. Find people outside the relationship who value your perspective. A friend, a coach like myself, a support group, someone who will listen to your ideas and engage with them respectfully. This does two things. It gives you lived experience of what healthy communication looks like, and it also creates counterweight to the constant dismissal you face at home. Your voice needs somewhere to land. If it can't land inside your relationship, make sure it has somewhere else to go. If your ideas have been dismissed, if your opinions have been silenced, if you've learned to swallow your thoughts before they even reach your lips, you need to hear this. Your perspective matters. Your insights are valid. Your voice belongs in the room. The dismissal you've experienced was not a reflection of your worth, it was a tactic, a deliberate strategy to remove your influence, your agency, and even your sense of self. And the fact that you've survived it, that you're here watching this, still searching for understanding, that's a sign that your voice has not been destroyed. It's been buried. But buried things can be unearthed. In a healthy relationship, your ideas are heard on their own merit. Disagreement becomes part of how trust is built. Each person is allowed to think, to question, to see the world in their own way, and to have that view respected, even if it's not shared. Your voice is welcomed, not managed within a healthy relationship. You don't have to earn the right to speak, you already have that right. Thank you, and Happy New Year. This is Stand Again, lived experience platform for male survivors of family violence. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Your voice might just help another man find his. If you're looking for one on one support, you can book coaching with a member of the Stand Again team. Simply visit standagain.com.au, where you will also find grounded information on surviving and recovering from family violence as a man. As always, remember that no matter how many times you've been knocked down, you can stand again.